Now, if you don't mind me, I think I'm gonna go visit my family.
Can I come with you? I still haven't met my parents, technically.
Sure. Guys? Guys? Well, everyone knows Juanita. Her eyes each a different color. Her teeth stick out and her chin goes in. Huh? What the? What's this? Hey puppet, we're back! Oh cool, nice third eye! Oh, good to know. Anyway, video time. So, time travel. The fantasy concept that pretty much everyone has imagined up at some point in their lives, and storytellers love to explore to create a confusing and convoluted storyline that very few people will be able to successfully follow. And much like any other media, in video games, it's very much the same. Time travel is a fairly common trope among video games, and as such has appeared in several different forms. After all, this whole concept can have several different approaches. Are you simply traveling to the past to change the present, or maybe hopping onto another concurrent timeline? Does the time travel affect just you, and can you do more than go forwards or backwards? Well, today we'll be looking at just that to see how different video games handled the ominous task that is time travel. Let's begin. Let's start off with the most predictable and common form of time travel in games, the adjustable past gimmick. This is usually the simple one trick of travelling backwards in time in order to cause major changes to the events of history and hopefully change the present day of the protagonist for the better. Oftentimes, this is a return trip that only occurs once in the story for simplism's sake. One of the very first games to run with this idea was Earthbound in 1994, having the four main heroes travel to the past at the very end of the game and do the final battle from there. Oddly enough, the story goes one mini step further here and has the heroes become robots in order to survive the time travelling format. A slight new twist to one of the more basic forms of time travel. Extending the complications a little bit more, some games chose to introduce time travel a little earlier in their game's storyline, with The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword showing off its time gate as part of the whole last act in order to gain more power in Link's sword. Or in Chibi Robo, where you can befriend tiny aliens and have them take you back in time to investigate a single briefcase, and then return to your original time and never play with time again. And then there's the games that go above and beyond and base their entire game around the gimmick of travelling back in time. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is the biggest offender of this trope, having you switch between 2 points in time 7 years apart again and again to progress through aspects of the world, gladly creating paradoxes from knowing information learned from someone who learned the information from you. And of course, Mario got on this trope as well, with Mario and Luigi partners in time, having the player travel back in time to find their younger versions of themselves to change and fix the past. Generally, this is as far as the adjustable past gimmick goes, only making simple changes in a world's single timeline to affect things in the future. Or the past. Are you okay, Puppet? Daz! What is it, Puppet? I'm supposed to wear this shape. Okay, great. Our second type of time travel is that of the free-flowing variant, because in some games it isn't a strict line that you can make bends in, it's more like a free-flowing river with a billion moving pieces that are flexible to change. And I have about 4 different games that fall into this category for how they approach time travel. The first and most obvious is Life is Strange. Not so much having a gigantic machine surrounding the ability to move years across time, instead it's just that time moves around the character whenever she raises her hand with purpose. It's never really explained why or how Max got their time reversing powers, but it does show a nice new approach as all movement is on a much smaller scale. We're no longer erasing 7 years of progress, just the last minute to better prepare ourselves for what's immediately next. Now, as has been the case with all time travel mentioned up to this point, the characters who are doing the time travel retain their knowledge and information of the events in the future, and time travel would be quite useless if this wasn't the case. But this knowledge becomes one of the main gimmicks for Life is Strange, as you use the words other characters are about to say in order to persuade them to react in a more likeable manner. The time is also used to retract your decisions or see what the other answers will bring, But something I really like that Life is Strange explored a little bit with this small-scale time travel is technical teleportation. When Max is reversing time, she remains in the same place, like an observer of the flowing timeline. With this, she is able to walk into a room, grab something, leave, and then reverse time to make it seem like she never entered the room, but still has the item. There's also one really cool moment where you're trying to break into the principal's office. She allows the door to be blown off in one timeline, walks into the room, and then reverses timeline to teleport through the now shut door and open it from the inside. Weird. In the 2D platformer Braid, the player isn't quite so lucky. Being gifted with the same reversing time gimmick, the protagonist also reverses on their position as they do so, forcing players to truly optimize their platforming approach in what is really an innovative gameplay idea. And then at the end of the game, it pulls a full 180 on you, literally, and reveals that the actual true turn of events were taking place in reverse. The game itself was lying to you in which way you were time traveling. And then you've got Quantum Break, the cinematic time traveling fever dream of a concept. For a start, it really tries to push the boundaries of what is a game, collaborating with studios and actors to make a simultaneous TV series with its story, but also really messing around with time travel. We experience a time travel machine that does exactly what you'd expect it to do, only for it to just kind of break reality a bit. Our friend turned antagonist now has all sorts of time-based abilities to outwit you with, and soon enough you similarly get to do some of the same things in gameplay. This includes, but isn't limited to, creating shields of frozen time, warping long distances in the blink of an eye, creating projectiles that disrupt time, becoming faster than the average human, sensing things before they happen, freezing objects in a pocket of time, unleashing Time Blast which destructively breaks time in a focused area, and reversing bullets. Basically, when it comes to time, they can just do whatever they want. With free-flowing time, the sky's the limit, really. And now our final contender for this category, taking a bit more of a simpler approach to technical time travel, we have Tracer from Overwatch. Now what's interesting with her is that all her time traveling whatnots are relative only to her. Her whole backstory is that she kind of gets detached from her world's timeline and just sort of floats in her own. Once stabilized, she can now blip ahead or reverse backwards across her own timeline. It doesn't affect anything around her, but she can manipulate the environment or the damage she's taken by moving back and forth on her own little timeline. Also, she doesn't really age now. Apparently, there's always room for innovation when it comes to time travel. But enough of this category, we've rambled long enough. Our third type of time travel is actually quite a basic one, but doesn't appear too often, perhaps because there's not much room to explore new territory, and that is the iconic time loop. Usually best saved for a single episode of some sci-fi series or short film. Video games covered this in a pretty well-rounded manner with The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and within it is a kind of gameplay time loop where the player is forced to replay the same 3 days again and again to protect the world from the slowly falling moon. The player must repeat the cycle many times over in order to fully explore each inch of the world, solve its troubles, and bring together help from the 4 giants spread across the kingdom. Not to mention the many different story options that brew from this story gimmick, like seeing how your actions or inactions affect the people of this world. But generally, this time loop approach is fairly rare in video games. I mean, even this game is technically not a time looping game, you just keep going back to the adjustable past and never see yourself somehow. You know, the more I think about it, the more I realize that I'm technically in a time loop myself, now that I'm processed in a videographic form. Creepy. But hey, can't bash immortality. So a more established form of video game time travel comes in the form of our fourth type, the alternative timeline/dimensions trope. Sound complicated already? You'd be right. This type of time travel claims its place in games like BioShock Infinite, whereby our main girl Elizabeth has the ability to manipulate tears that exist in the fabric of time, breaching worlds and opening portals to other points in time in other timelines and dimensions, ones where Return of the Jedi kept its original title of Revenge of the Jedi, or a dimension where a super genius scientist was born female rather than male. The idea surrounding this type of time travel can get a little hard to follow, but BioShock does a good job of telling it in an easy enough manner.
I see heads.
And I see tails.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Why are you following us? It's another Columbia.
A different Columbia.
The same coin.
A different perspective.
Heads.
Tails.
Dead.
Alive.
Taking a more simpler approach to this alternative timeline thing, Sonic Generations gives us time travel with a timeline that kind of folds in on itself, giving us a place where both modern Sonic and classic Sonic can meet, and all iconic landmarks across Sonic's timeline can also be pinpointed all into one short line. It's more like a timeline that was plucked at and reorganized into a physical space with everything on it, but whatever. Though perhaps I'm just overcomplicating a game that literally just wanted to put the best of Sonic all in one place. Oh? Ah! Huh? And now our final type of time travel from within video games. Listed as Other, since I've only got one example, if you can even call it that, and that's Xenoblade Chronicles with Shulk and his foreseeable future. It's kind of time travel, visually jumping forwards in time, but it plays out just like the adjustable past, just in reverse. The adjustable past is the present. But then, how far away is that from reality anyway? We've been traveling forwards in time since time started. I wonder where we're headed. Now, there were plenty of other examples of time traveling games that I've skipped in this video, though most probably fall into the categories mentioned here. Bayonetta's Witch Time is some sort of slow-mo gimmick, Titanfall 2 apparently has a mission surrounding time travel, and the Back to the Future game is, well, Back to the Future. But I'm sure as time goes on, we'll be seeing more of time travel pop up in all forms of media once again. It is the big fantasy concept everyone's imagined about one time or another. Though I don't quite know what I'm supposed to do with this. It's just an audio log. Daz, I have something I need to tell you. Well, go on then, spit it out. I don't know. I forgot. But I remember it was really important. Well, great. Hopefully with a little bit more time, you can tell me. Yeah, just a little bit more time.
Don't worry, Puppet. I'm sure you'll work it out one day.
Thanks, baby Daz. It probably wasn't too important. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little exploration of time travel in video games. I'm gonna use this opportunity to just voice something. Since we're talking about time travel and all, flashback to 3 months ago and I really felt like my channel was a bit of a goner. I was looking at my analytics and I could see that it wasn't sustainable. So I made a bit of a leap of faith. I've changed my content a lot, if you couldn't tell. And though I'm still somewhat finding my feet, I'm still having some big hits and big misses. I just want to say thank you so much. My channel in some places is doing better than it ever has before, and I'm really enjoying the videos that I make at the moment. As always, I'm trying to find something new, and I'm working on making content that's a bit more my own, but hey, I'm just having fun. I hope you're enjoying it. Let's see if we can keep this up through 2019, eh? Anyway, if you like my stuff and want to see more, then consider subscribing. You can also follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon with the name DazzVideos. Patrons get early access, any bonus content, bloopers, and more. You can also watch my sketch group Biscuit Barrel's next episode in their competition comedy show over on punkanary.com. Following the show helps a lot, and the next one may be one of the best ones we've made. Anyway, I've talked your ear off at this point, so I'll end it off here. My name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.